Good morning. 8:26 a.m. on Thursday. What date is it? May something. First week of May. Yep. And we are a week away from Shakespeare shows and in our final stretch of rehearsals. We have tech on Saturday, so today is one of the 2 last days of rehearsals proper. Excuse my dinosaur noise. Do I need to be excused? Not really. It's just what it is. So I'm gonna go get dressed in a minute. This will probably be a bit shorter. Yeah, I'm waking up. Still slowly waking up. I want to go back to bed so bad. I think I'm just exhausted physically and emotionally. But yeah. I'm in this state right now where, yeah, I really need to surrender to the work because, like, I've done the same lines and words. I've said the same words so many ways. Well, I've said the same words so many times and in a lot of different ways. And there's this sense of, like, I think every actor faces this, and it's very obvious when an actor is in a rhythm that is not, like, organic in the moment, but is just manufactured because of what they've rehearsed. And of course there is an element of, yes, we want the rehearsals to bring things alive. Well, we want there's a repetition that is necessary, but it shouldn't become routine or boring. It needs to be in the moment. And I remember what my intention was at the start of the production, start of all rehearsals. I just remember I just wanted to be present in the moment, in the scene with my scene partners. It's that simple. It is. Wait. Hello. Hello. Vivi is on my regular chair. Yeah. Let's see, does she want some petals? Nom, 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 nom. She does. Cutie. Oh. I know. I need to do something about my non-existent bookshelf. I have one bookshelf, but it's like tiny, and I have to go through some things as well to just make sure I still want those, like, magazines or, you know, old things. unused things. I'm trying to figure out Westmoreland, to be honest. But here's the thing, maybe I should stop trying to figure him out and just be. Yeah. I need to be for real. Is there anything I wanted to talk about today? Well, yeah, it would be nice to maybe talk about stuff that I've been working on in the rehearsals, but maybe I'll do that tonight because it's 8:32. I need to get dressed and I'm still really tired. I think I just fall asleep right now. And it's weird because I'm drinking coffee and now all of a sudden I feel tired again. What does that mean? Maybe it means I'm dehydrated. Okay, yeah, because so I have a few characters for the show, and one of them is a lot clearer right now for me because I guess she is closer to, I mean, it's a she, and I guess that's the thing. Yeah, one of them is she's more obviously emotional. And I think that's the key to Westmoreland right now. Oh my God, I'm making these realizations. Like, I've been working so hard on grounding Westmoreland, finding the register that I'm gonna speak in, finding the archetypes, finding what his motivation is. But like, how does he express emotions? I think the biggest clue that I have about him right now is that the most emotional that he gets is when the king dies and sorry for the spoilers, but this play isn't staged enough for, for it to like necessitate hiding the plot, but this is also a historical fact. At some point in history, Henry IV did die. And Shakespeare's depiction of this scene is fascinating to me because Westmoreland, he uses humor to like deal and cope with the loss. And that is actually something that I feel like I can relate a little bit or a lot with. I do have this sort of sardonic sense of, and the type of comedy that I love is like dark comedy, irony. So yes, I guess I gotta lean into that a bit more. Where does it come from? In the sense of like, I know it's coming from somewhere in my body. Like, where does it come from in my body, and how do I just listen to that part and what it has to tell me about this character? Because there's other parts of what we're working on where I've worked on the relationships that Westmoreland has with each of the other characters in this world, and there's one particular scene that I keep stresses me out because, well, we're doing a great job. Well, okay, and it's a good problem. It's a good problem because it means that all the other actors are in the moment as well, or like in their character. they're in character, and I think I just need to face the moment. Because one of them, like, one of the rebels, because Westmoreland's a loyalist, and then there's rebels. I mean, that's the point of Henry IV. It's about civil war, and it's the ending of a civil war. And what does that even mean? You know what I mean? It's about honor, loyalty. Anyway, and one of the rebels comes right up to me, and I, as Westmoreland, want to stab her. Like, I'm just like, so close. Yeah. And I do get the sense that the director wants me to make her move with my lines. And maybe that's what I'm going to work on. The only reason why I don't stab her is because I want something from the other character in the scene, the one who I'm talking to. So we have, well, I might as well just say, I'm talking to Hotspur, and his uncle comes right up to me, and then I'm like, I could kill this person right now, but I need you. I need to make peace with you, because, and also I have respect for you, and I want you to be on our side because you're such a, not just a valuable asset. I guess well, I do think Westmoreland thinks that way. Like, Westmoreland is not like a sentimental and even if he was sentimental, it would be more like, oh, maybe like my wife gave me this handkerchief and I'm just carrying it with me because I love her, but I'm not gonna express it. He's a man of action. Maybe he'll write, like, you know, I imagine a little bit like Colin Firth's depiction of Mr. Darcy, where he's cold and aloof in public and on the surface, but he writes beautiful letters. You know what I mean? I do feel like he's that kind of man. He's the written word kind of man. He will like express some feelings with some beautiful language, and doesn't like to talk too much because, I don't know. And I know men like that very well. I do know men like that. I'm thinking, I mean, my dad, for example, he prefers to write as opposed to like speaking. He prefers to like take action and do things. So I am thinking of this archetype. Like, I know this archetype very well. And it's very interesting because then, like, yeah, his throat chakra is not closed, it's just not as expressive, I think, as mine is, or as my other character, Lady Percy, who does have a much more open throat chakra. And one of the things I'm doing in creating characters is I'm looking for, like, where does the expression come from in the chakra system and the energetic centers in the body. And for sure, like, I do think Westmoreland is definitely comes from here a lot, and also in a more like an arrow, as opposed to like intuitive, like receiving of. He's not a psychic in that way. He's like a straight shooter, which I do feel like is a different kind of clairvoyance, a different kind of psychic. It's just that men don't often like to talk about that as a form of like psychic power. But it is like, for me, I do feel like it is just a different way of looking at it, or a different form of it. And he's also very grounded in like the root chakra. these are kind of the things that I'm working on. And also there are all the other chakras and all the other energy centers that I'm thinking about. Not that much many, but you know, and I don't want to overcomplicate things by thinking about too many things. But it's sort of like I've done the homework and now I just need to like let it rest in my body. And I feel like maybe that is the thing that I do need to unlock a little bit, because I think Westmoreland is talked about by multiple characters. Like, oh, this guy's setting forth today. Like the king talks about me going somewhere. The rebels talk about me coming to talk to them. So it's very fascinating to play this character, because there's a level of power there that I do feel like it's fascinating, because Westmoreland was also sort of part of the system when Richard II, I think he was appointed as Earl during the reign of Richard II, which is, for historical context, like the king that Henry IV deposed. Like, so we had a rebellion against Henry IV's cousin, Richard II. And my wife is the king's sister, so I'm the king's brother-in-law, which is very fascinating because there's a sort of power there, and that I'm really starting to discover. It's even more cemented, because everyone talks about how there we have this big fight between Hotspur and Hal, and the play talks a lot about that. But Westmoreland is basically doing the shit behind this. I really am thinking of this one episode in One Piece. Okay, I'm trying not to spoil it, but Zoro, everybody knows. If you watched even the first couple episodes of One Piece, you know that it's either Zoro or Sanji, but Zoro is the fighter in the crew. He is the one who's fighting. If you're talking about traditional fighting, obviously Luffy is very powerful because of the gum fruit, his rubber powers, but if we're talking about technique and skill and strategy, Zoro is the one who's done all of the training, all of the studying, and all of that. And I feel like that is Westmoreland. There's an episode, and I won't say too much about, so that it's not super spoilers, but One Piece is so long, so even if I talk about it, it will kind of be something to look forward to. Okay, but I'm just gonna talk about what Zoro did. He on behalf of the crew, I'm trying to keep it vague but specific in terms of how he relates to my character, but on behalf of the crew, he takes on this huge battle with a very powerful, who is it? Is it Kuma? Okay, now it's gonna be a spoiler. But anyway, I'm not gonna say too much about what happens in the battle, but this is one of the best battles. Okay, this is one of the best scenes with Zoro. But it's kind of aligned with his mission to be the best swordsman in the world. And on top of that, it shows his relationship with the crew. Because I don't think Luffy does not know this happened. And I don't think he doesn't tell anybody what really happened. Even if they kind of know, and they've kind of seen, and they kind of figure things out, he doesn't talk about it. Yeah, but he goes through this trial with Kuma, and and it's it reveals how much he takes on and how strong of a character he is, and how it's his fighting is unparalleled amongst the crew. He's definitely the strongest fighter, and that's how I kind of feel about Westmoreland. He's obviously Westmoreland and Zara are very different in the sense of Westmoreland is probably not gonna be sleeping on the deck and chilling. He's probably like doing stuff. And he's probably very regimented. He's a bit more like he would be more like the Marines. He's like, I'm waking up this time and doing this, military, I'm like folding my bed and in this perfect way, like that's the kind of guy Westmoreland is. And there's like systematic steps, and I've planned out, I've charted the course, I've got a map, and we're doing this and that, and everything the king wants, I'm gonna like, okay, make it happen sort of guy, right? Yeah. But it is that sense of like, there's a sense of status in and like unspoken power, because everyone talks about him. And in the version that we're doing, we kind of discovered, like, we decided to add on more choreography for the battle scene. So I am fighting, which is exciting. And I do a really crazy battle, kind of cool. And I am like taking Prince John under my wing. Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, I also kind of feel like Westmoreland's the guy who trained Hal. Yeah. And I think that says everything. Because Westmoreland is not there for like power of like the state in the like administration of it. He's sort of the military force he's the military wing. He looks at like defense and whatever, like, so, which makes a lot of sense why he's not as involved in Henry V. Also, he probably would have retired by then, I'm just saying, because his grandson, Warwick, the Earl, I guess he's also an Earl. Is he? I don't know. His grandson is the one who just goes on with Hal into Henry V more. But Westmoreland is more of the military power, 100%. And the fact that people talk so much about him, like no other character, I think, in my opinion, outside maybe Hal, but like for someone who, I mean, okay, that's no other character has this few lines, like, and still is talked about, like I kind of feel like Westmoreland's talked about more than he talks, which is crazy, because there are scenes where I'm standing there and I have to do something without saying things. I have to like be active in the scene, like I'm guarding the king, or I'm supporting him, or I'm, finding, like I'm working on some strategy thing. I'm not just a messenger. I'm like carrying confidential information that only the king should know, because literally the king is the only person I bring military reports to. And that's what I'm thinking, it's like the quality of the letters are different, all of that. So yeah. I do feel like that is a good place now, because I do have to get changed. But I do feel better now that I've talked a little bit about it. I do feel like, okay, for this particular scene that I'm struggling with, like, I need to stop putting my foot on the pedal. I think that me, Diana, the person, breaks a little bit. Like, I could go there, but I don't want to. Like, put another person, like my scene partner, in a vulnerable position. I would, like, because in that one moment, there's so much conflict and tension, and I'm not leaning into it as much as I'm deflecting, as this person who in real life is kind of rather avoidant. Like, my way of dealing with conflict is very fascinating, because it's sort of evolved over time, and at this age that I am now, it's sort of like, I do think Westmoreland is okay. It's not so far from Westmoreland, but he's a lot more masculine and than me. Yeah, he is. That's how he's written. He's, you know, but we definitely are a little bit more like strategic in like the sense of, you know, go Chinese chess. We have the sort of the bigger picture idea. Like Westmoreland is not gonna stab a bitch, but he might want to, but he won't. So yeah, like I think that's the thing I'm trying to figure out. It's like Diana would walk away from the conflict and sit back and think, okay, when is the best moment for me to actually say something that actually resolves the conflict? And it's sort of like acupuncture. That's what I do now. Is like I do kind of, yeah, even if I get really pissed off or angry or something, like I try and channel that anger into something productive, and I look for the opportunity to make some change. And I do feel like Westmoreland is not that different, but he's also kind of like a don't mess with me bitch. Like he's like his third chakra, his ego center, is definitely a lot more solid, I do think. A lot more. Mine is a little bit more like fluid, but his is like maybe like steel or platinum, you know, in the sense that it can be molded and shaped in the tempering process, but I do feel like he's sort of there. And it's not hollow steel, it's like boom. You know, when he's in the room, he's like boom. And especially because people talk about him, I need to behave in that. I need to fill those shoes that they speak of. Girl. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but it's a worthy challenge. Yeah, I mean they all are. There's no small character, okay? Even if there might be smaller like roles on the billboard or on the payroll, there's no small character. And yes, you know, like it would be nice to like. No, and one of the things that like I did wish for at some point in my life is to lead a Shakespeare play at some point in this long journey of life on earth. But I know it doesn't have to be right now. And in this particular play with this ensemble with my director, I am grateful and happy, and I love this version of Westmoreland and Lady Percy and the other two characters that I play, three characters that I play that are just like support, like real, they're like extras that have lines. Guest stars, day players, I don't know what the word is, but like, you know, like I'm playing a sheriff. Oh yeah, and the sheriff is also very different from Westmoreland, in the sense of like both of them have status and authority, but the sheriff is like a mini version, you know. He's like got a local office, he's more focused on the tasks he's doing, and Westmoreland is very big picture. And I'm also thinking very old money. Yeah, he's not a peasant, he's an earl. Even though I am personally anti-monarchy, like Colin Firth. Just saying. But anyway, just saying. But, you know, like, I have to stay true to the context of the play and find an equivalent in the version that we're staging, right? Okay. That is true, because I come in with a lot more authority as the sheriff, so I really need to think about how to bring that to Westmoreland, because also, like, yeah, the rebels that Westmoreland faces are much bigger than the problems that Sheriff is solving. Yeah, but I do feel like in the scene with the Sheriff that I do come in, I guess because I don't have the same confrontation as I do in the Westmoreland scene, like, it's very clear, like, that I need to get what I need to get done, and I'm going to get the money back for the people that were, you know, stolen from. But for Westmoreland, it's not clear, you know what I mean? Even though I know, like, we all know in the story that it's gonna end up that way. But in that moment, it is sort of on the seesaw and the balance, because that's the point, you know, we're doing a civil war, so we have to be on that seesaw. And then instead of stabbing a bitch, instead of stabbing someone, Westmoreland decides to pick his battles and try and convince Hotspur to stay on the same side as him, which is with Henry the Fourth. So I really need to build that relationship with Hotspur. And, like, at what point did I realize that Hotspur's uncle is just a bad influence, and how does it affect me, you know? Because, yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking like military general, I mean, I'm thinking a little bit like more the Chinese style of stuff, which is what I'm more familiar with. Like, maybe I would have trained Hotspur, you know? I would have, like, overseen some of the battles and at least strategized with him. I mean, that's kind of how the play is reading out to me. Yeah. There's a lot that is sort of woven through the text, especially because my character doesn't say much at all. He doesn't have any monologues. He doesn't need any monologues. And literally, the biggest thing that he says is he makes an arrest of traitors. Like, literally, that's like such an important line. He like ends the Civil War. And he's like negotiating at each point, but he's also sort of fighting. He's the kind of guy, he's like, I'm gonna negotiate with you, but if you say no, that's like, you're gonna regret it, so you need to say yes. And even if you say no, we're gonna make it a yes. Like, that is Westmoreland, basically. Because, yeah, because even like later on he fights, we're having him be the one who's like arresting one of the rebels. So yeah, one of the key rebels. And actually he does arrest most of the rebels, which is fascinating. I mean, he does the arrest of like the secondary rebels, but like the key rebels as well, we're also doing that. And obviously Hal and Hotspur fight each other, and Hal kills Hotspur. Whereas Westmoreland's mentality would be like, Hotspur is an asset to the state, and therefore we need him. If we can keep him, let's keep him. You know? Yeah. And obviously Hal also doesn't really want to fight Hotspur, but he has to. But whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. It's part of the plot. That's Hal's journey. Okay, I really need to change and go. Bye. I think we're in a good place. Okay.